Hi, everybody. My name is Jerome Jr., and I am the founder and CEO of Musicade.
Awesome. And I'm Tim Uzebu, co-founder here at Benmore Technologies. Obviously we got Jerome here in the studio. Want to just go ahead and have a quick interview, talk about some things you have going on with Musicade. But before we get into all of that, I'd love to at least hear from your side, for the people that don't know you already. Just a quick personal introduction, who you are, what you're about, and roll some stuff from there. So.
Oh, I am, not to brag, but literally music prophecy.
Yeah.
I think my upbringing definitely comes from music. But a little bit more about me. I was born in Shreveport, raised in Dallas,
Gotcha.
but my second home is Chicago. I love photography, love music, love being creative. I spent 10 years in branding, tech, business development, consulting. So just one day, I felt like I had a lot of talents and skills spread thin in a lot of different projects. And I find out that when you focus on one thing, things usually go well. So I didn't know Musicade would become that, but I did know I wanted to work on an app to find DJs and independent artists. And it's grown since then.
Amazing. I'm curious as well. I always like to get a little bit deeper into people's stories as far as kind of where they've been able to like grow those skill sets. So obviously now we're talking about the launch of Musicade, but before then you've been involved in so many different things, right?
Yeah.
On the marketing side, project management, right? How do you think those experiences has kind of prepared you for where we're at right now?
When you're a founder, you got to do it all. Like you gotta literally. There's been times where I'm setting up the stage to creating graphics and marketing to setting up the studio to working with the development teams. I think that's what allows me to get Musicade where it is today, and be able to provide that much direction and make sure we establish that culture as well, where everyone feels they're included, but collaborative. But I've learned the importance of just speaking the language of who I'm working with. So developers, they look for certain things. DJs want to hear certain things. So through my experience, I've learned the jargon and the knowledge to be able to communicate that vision across.
I think that's a huge thing as well, especially, myself being kind of software native, when I'm communicating with individuals who have taken the time to really understand, how to speak that language, it's all right, this is a mutual level of respect that we can kind of both have that same kind of level of discourse there. So that's huge. Just as far as that communication. But before we get too far and kind of bury the lead here, I guess give everyone a synopsis, kind of a little bit of a summary as far as what Musicade is, kind of what it's all about.
Yeah. Like I said, originally it was a app to just find DJs. It really started with my pain point of I'm in Chicago. I think my breaking point, I waited in 0-degree weather to get into this club, and I get there and it's just not the music that I wanted to hear. And I was like, I've had it. Like I'm done. And so the app was just like, I want the ability to just find the DJs that I like, know where they're playing, know where to go, and then just like go from there. But as I learned more about the industry and the live music industry and the pains within it, Musicade really developed into a SaaS platform built specifically for venues, artists, and DJs locally, where we're kind of creating economic opportunities and converting the live music scene into cultural hubs. So they can collaborate together in the system, book contracts, gigs, promote all in one, because that's what we saw where the need was.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, especially kind of going 0 to 1, is like you just mentioned, right? Having an initial kind of thesis. Typically, it's going to be based on a problem that you're facing as well. So 0-degree weather instead of outside.
I don't know if you ever stood in Chicago cold. It's like, bro.
That window definitely hits you. So myself originally from Boston, right? I'm like, all right, I'm coming out to Chicago. I can handle this. Right?
Yeah.
I touched down, that wind cut straight through the bone, right? So I can definitely feel the pain from your experience there. But like I said, just solving your own problem first and foremost, right? Making it a solution that will work for yourself.
Right.
But I think one thing that I could definitely tip my hat off to you that you've done really well is also having conversations with those users, right? And figuring out, all right, who are these stakeholders? What problems do they also have? And how can we build a comprehensive solution that can, really tie in, right, all of those different pain points and really bring something together that, people are going to be excited to use and feel about. So I'm curious on your side, right? How was that process for you? Like, going to these different venues and speaking to these different stakeholders, like what was the response? What were the pain points that you saw that they had that maybe you didn't initially kind of foresee there? And then how were you able to kind of tie that into one comprehensive kind of product roadmap?
I think it's literally what you said though, like getting in front of the users. So even before I met you guys, I had like an initial prototype. And even if it was just like a sketch, but then I showed it to my DJ friends, like, would you use something like this? Like, would this be helpful to you? And it was like, yeah, actually. But then in that moment, they will give you ideas. Yeah. Like they will tell you like I think Scotty's a DJ here, DJ Youngler Scotty. He was one of the first DJs that saw the prototype. And he was like, you know what I need on here the most is I need to be able to show my portfolio. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, so, but you know, the more insight that you get, the better. But your second part of your question is how do you incorporate that into the roadmap? Is prioritization, right? You're gonna hear a lot of opinions. You're gonna hear a lot of like a lot of thoughts. I think from my experience, there was once in a time I was a product manager across 400 different people, 20 different development pods, enterprise-wide company. So obviously everyone has an opinion. Yeah, for sure. My whole job was to literally to filter out what goes and what doesn't. Yeah. And it really just hit on two main things, and it's like so basic, but stick to it, is value and effort. Like, does this idea address enough pain for this user, or does it bring enough value to this user? Does it even bring in revenue? Maybe will it increase your subscription? Will it bring in more ads? Whatever, right? Yeah. But then this is the hardest part, is listening to your development team. What does it take to actually build that? Yeah. Does it take 2 sprints, 3 sprints? Does it take an entire PI? Do we need to restructure the architecture? Yeah. Right? Like, is it worth the effort? But even so, what that means to me is like we could still do it, but we might need to chip away at this mountain, right? Sure. Or this is a quick win. And I think just by going off of that, learning the market, it's a sure way to know you're meeting the market need, but you're also still within your resources.
100%. Yeah, and I think transparently with us, right? You know, a lot of the founders that we do work with are coming from like a non-technical background, but I will say, you know, having someone who has that project management experience, who can speak that language, makes it a lot easier having those discussions. Because you are right? How we kind of frame it is like, what is the most asymmetric subset of features that we can focus on right now, right? And then when you break that down, it does come down to value and effort, right? Yeah. What's kind of the...
I'm sorry, I was just thought about like, don't be afraid to get that wrong. Yeah. Like, I think my initial MVP that we built out was enough. Like, if it's an MVP, it's enough to get into the market. For sure. But as we learn and talk more and more to users, I was like, we need a second release because there's a whole other need here that I didn't even see. Yeah. And I was like, that's where the revenue is. And so I was like, let's keep building what we're building. We need that, but now we kind of just like extended our roadmap. Yeah. And that may happen, like, right? And you may need to make those adjustments. But it's still good to just like start somewhere.
For sure. Yeah. 100%. Like you're saying, I mean, how we describe it is like the whole kind of theory behind going 0 to 1 is just don't die, right? Right. Figure out how to make sure that we have enough runway, we have enough kind of momentum going forward. But you're never gonna be able to foresee, like you just mentioned, right? This is where the revenue really lies, right? Yeah. Once you get to that point, it's really a matter of just allocating those resources and going forward from that side of things. Yeah. But glad you were able to kind of pivot in that sense. But I'm curious as well. Obviously, before you came to us, you had already had the prototype, those kind of sketches. I'm curious kind of with that journey, right? How is it? Obviously, we got connected via social media. I think it was an ad that you had saw back in the day. So I guess kind of walk us through like kind of what that journey has been like, seeing us for the first time, having those initial conversations and up to where we're at right now.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's God or algorithm.
Maybe a combination.
Probably a combination of both. But I had a prototype. And I had had a lot of research. I knew what the vision was and knew where I wanted to go. But I don't know how to code. Yeah. Nor do I want to. I actually looked into like, maybe I can teach myself how to code, but I just want to work at a certain speed. For sure. I'm still working full time. So I literally went on Instagram Live and kind of vented a little bit. And I was like, I have everything I need. I have a budget of 10K. I just need to find a team. And I was like, but I said something, but I trust that it will come to me when it's ready. Literally the next day, I see your ad, like, do you have a team? Do you have $10,000? I was like, bro, like, here it is right here. And then when I met you guys, I saw you were from Chicago, lots of similarities in background. You guys like definitely had the expertise. So I was bought in like literally immediately. It felt like it was destined to be. Yeah.
No, it's one of those things, like I said, we've heard crazy stories, right? I think the algorithm these days is probably criminal. How accurate it is, right? I don't have any part to play in that personally, but we'll go from there. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is just fit, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where we try to make sure that we make our mark. We speak to a lot of people. A lot of people aren't a great fit for kind of how we operate and what we do. But I think early conversations with you is, all right, this guy gets it. Right?
Yeah.
Understands the process and can really kind of go ahead and really double down on your strengths. Like I said, I mean, I'm someone who, I was self-taught developer when I was, 14, 15 years old. I love software, but, people.
Kudos to you.
What I'm trying to say though is like, you definitely shouldn't try to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And it comes down to doubling down on what you're good at, what your strengths are, and partnering with the right individuals to kind of fill in those gaps. I think that's where you can put yourself in a situation where 1 + 1 = 3, right? And then you're able to have some synergies from there. But obviously, right, that was, I think, almost a year ago, something like that.
Yeah, literally.
Now we've got to the point that we're at right now. I'm curious with where we're at currently with Musicade, right? At this point, that's, kind of critical in the roadmap here. How do you foresee things kind of playing out in the next 12, 18, 24 months?
Definitely growth and expansion. Right now, we hit a pivotal point. So the app is in the Apple Store. It's the MVP is developed, and we did a full pre-launch kind of marketing.
Yeah.
Again, playing on my strengths, because I had you guys, you were able to focus on the development and the product, but I was out to focus on the PR, the marketing, generating a user base, out there talking to the market. Getting news articles, etc. And I think from there, I realized how much effort it does take to generate these users and get them to sign up and get them on board. It's not, marketing's a marathon.
Okay.
It's basically, we were talking about that yesterday. And now it was also just okay, a lot of stuff we were doing for free, a lot of stuff we were getting out there. But then now that I'm here, it was revenue.
Yeah.
Because as much as I like being in every room, that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
As much as I like traveling and going out there, I wrote down that we need to make sure Musicade is in a place where it can function on its own without me funding it and without me being present.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're looking at scale.
Yeah.
But then the next part is just growth too. So how can we generate more revenue? So we started looking at features specifically to do that. But also just building something that is attractive to not just a user base, but also to investors, crowdfunding, angels, etc.
Yeah, I think one thing that you've done quite well that I actually I want to put a pin in this and kind of maybe go a bit deeper is, how you were able to generate that buzz, right, in that, development cycle while we were still doing our thing on our side. Super grassroots. I know you had a ton of interns that you were doing some stuff with as well. Walk us through kind of what those strategies. Obviously, don't give too much of the sauce.
I'll give the sauce. It don't matter. I want people. I'm a founders of founders. I love seeing people do what they want to do. I think the thing is, nobody wants, at least on social media, nobody wants an ad. Nobody wants to watch a marketing sale. So brands these days need a mascot, basically, or a human face and voice. So they have this thing now called founders marketing.
Yeah.
So by weaving my personal brand into and generating my following, and then bringing in Musicade and my journey, what I'm doing, why is it important to me, why am I striving for it? A lot of times people supported me, not necessarily Musicade. But then as my following grew, so did Musicade. So it's kind of just I was intentionally doing that, and to the point where the buzz kind of came to me in a way where I think the biggest thing is PR, is just focusing on that. It took some months for that following to grow, but once that article hit, once another article hit, once other people started to give me that recognition, it really just took off from there.
Yeah. And also, I know you've been doing some things as far as fundraising and doing some different sort of competitions. How has that kind of played into your strategy as well?
I think I don't know. I think I've been blessed to where I work full time and I make what I make, and I've made some sacrifices to move back in with my parents and live at home, bill free, rent free. I don't pay anything but my gym membership.
Yeah.
So now my income is going fully into that. So I haven't really had a big need to fundraise. But as we grew, I was really only expecting to launch in Dallas and Chicago. But then I had people in DC hitting me up, people in New York contacting me, and I was like, how can I reach them?
Yeah.
And so again, it just went to like, if we need more resources. So I applied to pitch competitions, to grants, to setting up crowdfunding, selling merch, like anything to do to just help generate that extra set of funds so that we can reach those additional markets.
Yeah, and that's huge as well, like kind of knowing, what that runway looks like and where to allocate those funds going forward is going to be.
Budgeting on a regular basis. So it's really like, it's not always about being profit, but just having a positive cash flow.
Yeah.
As long as you have that, you can maneuver funds in a way where like, okay, I have the working capital to do these events. And I think the reason why we're doing that, really going to these cities, is there's nothing like boots on the ground, getting in front of the users, hosting events, doing whatever you can to like create an experience around your brand where people feel it. They can touch it. And even though it's a software, like they have something tangible that they can take home to them. And remember the brand, remember who you are. And that's how we were able to get those signups right away.
Yeah, I think one of the things that, I think you really have to nail in this space in particular is really creating that experience, right? And I think that's definitely something that's difficult to do if you're just focusing on the zeros and ones.
Yeah.
As far as, okay, like this is the application, this is the interface, all of that. Oh, that's great. You need to have that. But really creating an experience so that, like, what feeling do I feel associated with the Musicade brand, right?
Yeah.
And that's what, creates that lasting impression, as well as all the other things as far as PR, marketing, all this, come together into it. But having something where I'm a user, right? I'm a part of this ecosystem, right? I feel like I'm a part of this, this brand and this movement. I think
exactly. Sure. And that's how the team grew. Like I had people really reach out and like, how can I work with you? Like it wasn't even like, I want to use the app. It was like, dude, you're doing something amazing. And I think that always went back to the mission. And that was always clear, like why we're doing what we're doing. We really want to create a platform for artists to grow. We see that there's so much talent out there, but it's being dominated by algorithms and streams. They're really burnt out. They're not getting the growth that they're looking for. They're trying to reach that next level. They don't know how. And the music industry is shaken and nobody knows what to do. And so I was like, well, here's Musicade. And I think when people saw that mission, they were signing up right away, either to use the app, but also to like join and support that mission. And I think making that very clear and why you're doing what you're doing, you'll be surprised who like raises their hand just to sign up and work with you.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's, what's the saying, right? Is it missionaries over mercenaries?
Yeah.
Right. You want to have people who are bought into the cause and can really kind of put themselves behind what you're looking to do and what you're looking to accomplish. Right? Have it be bigger than yourself. And then from there, it takes a life of its own. I'm sure you've seen that as well, kind of having it snowball into its own. Thing,
so. I looked around, I was like, I have a team of 30 right now. That's crazy. I'm like, huh? Like, whoa, where'd you guys get here? But yeah, it's still there. So.
Yeah, no, it's a blessing for sure. I'm curious as well. Obviously, you mentioned, one thing about community, right? How pivotal has it been kind of leveraging the community that you found yourself in, obviously being in the music space, right? For feedback, just for even beta testers, how pivotal has that been in the journey? So
well, I think a lot of people, everyone's focused on community. Yes. Every brand is trying to create this community, but I think the problem is very transactional. It feels like a trap. Like they kind of entice you with this emotional draw, and then you get there and it's nothing but they're selling you stuff. I was very adamant about like people, my team was asking me like, let's do like a raffle or let's do something to get people to sign up. And I was like, no. Like that's not how we want to do. If the product and experience is not valuable enough where people want to sign up on their own, where they actively choose to be here, then we're missing the mark. And I don't want to trick people into using the product because that's how you lose them when they realize what you actually done. So I think that's the biggest thing in the community is what can we give has always been the focus. And then naturally people will see the value in it. And that's what you hope. But if not, learn from it, correct it, and come back with something better. Yeah.
No, the biggest thing is like you want to be able, I mean, in any efficient market, right? There's if you're always taking value, right? I mean, it's a zero-sum game.
Right.
But if you can give more, then it's more of a sustainable growth process as opposed to like, growth hacks or the case is.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays there's just, we now live in this like short form, like social media kind of environment where everything is like a 2-second tidbit or whatever.
Right.
And that's not how you build a sustainable, movement there. It's more so how can I actually like develop a long-term strategy to give, and then give some more.
Yeah.
And then at the tail end of that, actually get ahead and take. So I do really love that as far as your strategy there. That's huge.
One more thing though is every community needs a place to host it.
For sure.
So yeah, you have your product, but we have built systems in place where we created like group chats on Instagram per city. So it's like Musicade Chicago, Musicade Dallas, and we invited our user base to just promote their own stuff, collaborate, work together. We use our website to help draw in people as well, and they was able to sign up. We had our email chain. So it is looking at like what systems and channels are you using to communicate and promote and facilitate this community, and what events do you have, etc. I think that was also just like something we paid very close attention to is how do we actually like foster, where is the community, where can it be found? Is really, that's, I think that's the key.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I was going to ask as well is like, I obviously you kind of just answered this, but when it comes down to how you position Musicade to stand out in a somewhat crowded kind of market as far as the music space, right? Is that what you would say you kind of honed in on the most, like really just honing in on that to how to kind of, what's the word, separate yourself in that sense?
I don't know. I think it wasn't necessarily a how can we compete thing. It was just all about like, how can we serve? Again, it's just like, I think, but the way that we did it maybe stood out. So we knew that, some of these apps out there, they may provide like one piece of it. But we always just focus on not serve, but where are the gaps?
Yeah.
And if those are the gaps that are not being met, how can Musicade fulfill them? And I think that's something we're still asking every single day.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I think that's what's going to drive growth as far as like, I think especially kind of going 0 to 1, a lot of startup founders will be like, oh, super focused as far as competitors, what are our competitors doing? But I think getting into that kind of race, you end up chasing your own tail, right? Really having a mission-driven focus and trying to be like, okay, how can we actually give back to the community is the biggest thing that I think separates those that actually can go far. So huge hearing that. And then I'm curious as well, obviously, with the launch, right, and everything going on right now, what are some learnings, right, in this kind of 0 to 1 process that, if you were to go back and have a time machine to day one, that you would have done differently in that process?
I don't know. I'm a cheat code here because I'm 10 years in a gaming product.
Yeah.
So I've launched many times. I've learned a lot of lessons before getting to this point. So like there was actually probably this most smoothest like launch ever, working with the team and working with Benmore. Really not many hiccups were there. I think initially though was when we first started, there's always that storming phase, right? We're getting to know each other's styles. We're getting to know each other's communication. I wouldn't even say that's like a lesson learned, but it is an experience like you just kind of have to just like grit through. The other thing would just be, number one is making sure that I'm healthy. And because if I'm in a place where I'm down, then so technically it's the business. And so there's always making sure that I'm eating well, I'm sleeping, I'm not burning myself out throughout this journey is like number one key thing. I think the last thing would just be to make sure that getting comfortable with the constant like PR. So thankfully I have had people on my team push me to be more out front and get out there and talk and pitch the mission, because I would go places and like kind of hide because I'm like, are you sure like they want to hear about this? And they do. And I actually just thought about this, but you will fail. There will be times where it messes up. We've hosted events and the mixer didn't work, or the venue wasn't really what we thought it was going to be, or we did miss the mark on our MVP. We need to make some adjustments. I think just being very adaptable. And I started changing it to, so what if you fail? Like, so what? Like, oh well, like keep it going. Learn from it, move forward. And that's just get used to that being the process. is the thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's the biggest thing. I think people, we have this like, there's a mental block around, this boogeyman in our head is like failure, right, so to speak. And I think there's a lot of like societal reasons for that. But when you really break down, like, what are you actually afraid of? Right? If you like you're saying, a mixer, what does that actually do? Right? It's just an opportunity for us to get better.
Still have the show. Exactly. Like, show's literally still went on. It was delayed a little bit, it's okay, but we made it work. It was cool.
Show must go on. And then those are the things that you can put in your back pocket and say, I've gone through these experiences and now I'm a better founder for that. Right? And so I think now one of the things that obviously myself being in business as well is like, okay, how can I reframe these experiences? And there are a lot of those, right?
Yeah.
Those hiccups that come across along the way. How can you reframe these experiences as lessons? So you mentioned obviously working with the team, right?
Yeah.
You know, talk to us a little bit more just about kind of what that experience has been like. What are some things that went well? And then also like if you would recommend, you know, obviously working with a team like us to other prospective founders that were in that same spot.
Dude, y'all crushed it. Like I've worked with a lot of development teams, many different cultures, many different countries, many different experiences, ages, etc. Like this was one of my favorites. I think y'all's dedication and attention to detail really stood out to me because I'm that way. I would get down to the nitty gritty requirement as much as needed, and you all's flexibility to go there with me was great. I think also just I was introduced to a lot of new ways. As much as I've been in this product world, I haven't really done waterfall as much, but I saw the benefits of it. When you're a first time founder, budget is essential. So by having that kind of fix, like this is what we're gonna build, this is how long we're gonna spend on it, this is how much we're gonna put money into it. It was assuring for me to know exactly what I'm getting and like what it takes to have it. Where Agile, you can really overspend very quickly. And so that was kind of new, but I was very open to it, and y'all's coaching in that was there. But not to say there wasn't some Agile aspects. We definitely made some pivots, we made some changes, but it was still in that sense. I've already started recommending you all. I've already started letting people know if you have an app idea, you need to go to Benmore. Like they will give you the service that you need for the value that you're getting is unmatched. And so I'm always now letting people know to go to Benmore.
No, I appreciate that. And I think one of the things that we really try to hone in on, right, in this space is we really care. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like I don't think we do anything super specialist. I mean, code is code at the end of the day. We're doing zeros and ones and stuff like that. But from the top down, like I said, myself, Richard, we've both kind of been in that environment ourselves as being individual contributors into projects and really caring. And it's like that is the only way that you're able to kind of go 0 to 1, especially in this kind of you know, like I said, bootstrapped or early stage environment is everyone has to care, right? Everyone has to really own what they're doing. And I think I won't take the credit because I haven't run a single line of code on your application, but we have a phenomenal team that's done that. And that's what we really try to, you know, pride ourselves in going forward. But I definitely do appreciate that, and I really do.
You all set expectations really well too. I think the hardest part of being a product manager is managing expectations of everyone, right? Because everyone has their ideas and what they want. I liked how you all were from the jump, like, look, this is what we do. We're going to help you get your MVP, launch you to the market, and send you off to fly. And I was like, got it. Like, after that, I'm here. And so now that I'm here, we've done that. Like, we've also had a very smooth handoff.
Transition.
Right? Like, now that I'm in the app store, the app is here. We had our final handoff, and we didn't miss a beat in development. Like, I think I ended up hiring our developers full time because I was like, you already know everything. You already have all the access. You know the code. You know the architecture. So we brought him on, and that we literally like ended our sprint with you guys, started our sprint on with the new team, and it was just like the smoothest handoff ever. Knowledge transfer like seconds. And so I even like respect that, like where you set the expectation. It just helped me mentally prepare like what's to come.
100%. I think one thing you mentioned as well is like kind of that mix between waterfall and agile. There's obviously trade-offs with that. With us, we're like, okay, how can we, knowing who we're helping, right? Primarily first time, primarily self-funded founders, right? How can we go ahead and really position ourselves in a way that we're mitigating risk as much as possible, right? And I think the biggest thing that ends up killing a lot of startups in that phase is like overconsumption of scope, right? Especially if you're in an agile environment where you're being billed time materials or whatever the case may be, right? You say, oh, let's go ahead and build out features A, B, and C, and that turns out to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you know, and it goes on from there, right? And so our biggest thing is we can definitely do that, right? But if we're coming at it from how can we mitigate risk as much as possible to get to the point where we're at, you know, in the market, really focusing in on that, like I said, that asymmetric subset of scope that we can focus on and launch. And then from there, there's a million different ways that you can go after that. Right, having your own internal team, whatever the case may be, right? We want to help you get to that 0 to 1, and then now give you the optionality to do what's best for you at this stage of your growth. And I think that's like you mentioned, right, what's been really good as far as seeing you do that as well. Obviously, we were able to help in that transition with having one of our developers do that on your side, but that's the biggest thing that we want to see, right? How we can get to 0 to 1, and then from there, give you that optionality. Go ahead and spread your wings and fly.
Yeah.
So that's been great.
We're there. Yeah, we're going.
Amazing. So, I mean, that's basically what I wanted to just discuss about. Obviously, like I said, yourself not new to the game as far as product, right? But, as far as building your own, it's been really great to see your journey and the growth that you've been able to foster so far. Any kind of closing remarks as far as, wanting to plug anything or just some future plans at Musicade as well?
Yeah, sure. I think to all the other founders out there, I'll tell you what another founder told me. His name is Fonz, one of the co-founders of Spill. And this literally changed my whole perspective. But he basically, in the most respectful way, didn't cuss me out, but cussed me out. Because, and I'm just going to tell you the value of working with Ben Moore, is he told me, he was like, you mean to tell me that you have a product, you have a team, you have a business plan, you have all these things. Why are you not shopping this out to investors? Why are you not out here getting and securing the millions of dollars that are out there in this tech world? And I was like, I didn't even consider that to be like a possibility. I didn't even consider that to be a thing. And he was like, dream bigger. Like, I need you to really imagine how far your product can go. Because I think we got very focused on the MVP and just hit the launch and just get there. And very short term and very in the near future. But he really did force me to think about what the vision is. And so from now into 2026, the goal is to raise 500K to $1 million. To get into the new year and have that funding, start meeting with investors. So I've already started scheduling those calls. And so to those founders out there, is dream big. As much as you want to get to the technical, to the zeros and ones, and you need to budget, you need to do all these things we just talked about, never stop dreaming. Always imagine exactly how far it can go, because you'll be surprised how that will influence what you actually strive for. And so here, I wouldn't even imagine that I'm setting up meetings with investors trying to ask for $1 million, but here we are. Yeah. And I think thanks to Ben Moore, though, we have the things to do that. A lot of people go in meetings with these investors asking for a couple mil with just an idea. Yeah. They just got a PowerPoint deck that they just whipped up and made up some numbers and this is it. But now we have a credible, viable product that works. We have a credible, viable user base actively here. And so it's just I'm in these meetings a lot more confident to ask what I'm asking for, knowing the value that we deliver.
Yeah, no, and that's huge. I think one thing that I've definitely heard myself as well is the exact same idea, right? You can only really achieve as much as you believe. Right. It's so corny and so cheesy as far as
but it's
manifestation area and stuff like that. But it is 100% true, right? If you don't see yourself as that founder who can go ahead and raise that, $1 million round or whatever the case, you're not going to get there, right? Yeah. So being able to first and foremost have the prerequisites, like you say, the MVP, and actually have your stuff unlock, right, in those meetings is huge. But then from there, just envisioning it and going out and achieving it. And myself, I can speak to myself, and I'm sure you as well. I mean, most people who are in these environments, you can look back in your career and say, every time I've put my mind to something, I've achieved that, right, without fail. And so I have no question that it's going to be the same thing going forward with Musicade. So I'm excited. I'm super excited to kind of play a spectator role in your guys' journey and kind of see where this goes. But I think as of right now, it's been a pleasure, right, just being a part of that. And
thanks, man. Thank you.
No, I'm super excited. But any closing remarks for the people as well? Plug anything?
No, I mean, of course, download Musicade, donate, buy merch, all the above. Our goal is to raise, again, 500K to $1 million. So definitely look at our website at www.musicade.app and be definitely on the lookout. We're definitely shaking some things up. So if you don't know about us now, you will.
100%. Awesome.
Thanks.
There we go.
Cool.